Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of Oxnard Live. I'm your host, Daniel Chavez Jr. So, what is a TED Talk? We all know that a TED Talk usually is a powerful 18-minute or less statement or comments or story that we all see when we're scrolling through Facebook, Instagram, even Twitter. But what is Tedx Oxnard? Well, tonight we're joined by the team of Tedx Oxnard that will be talking about what their goal is here in Oxnard and their upcoming event in March on the 20th, and so much more. I'm excited. I hope you're excited because the group that are behind TEDx Oxnard is an amazing group who comes with tons of experience and information. And you know what? Enough of me trying to talk about it. Let's just have them come and join us. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming the team behind TEDx Oxnard.
Hey, Daniel.
Hey,
Good.
Daniel.
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Good afternoon, good evening.
Hello. Smiley faces are always great. So, I'm excited about tonight's conversation. We're talking about TED Talks, and we know that TED Talks, they're usually around technology, design, entertainment, but this is TEDx Oxnard, which is pretty exciting. But yet at the same time, what is TEDx Oxnard? So we'll start with Patrick. Tell us what TEDx Oxnard is.
Sure. Well, TEDx is an independently organized TED event for the purpose of bringing the community together and share in ideas worth spreading. So we operate under a license from TED to put together an event specific to our community. TEDx Oxnard is really about showing vitality in the face of so much adversity that we've experienced in the last year. I hope I'm not too choppy right now.
We're good.
All right. The idea behind it was to do something kind of bold, kind of daring, that we could say the community of Oxnard came together and rallied behind an event to show how vital we really are. We selected the theme of code switching to kind of be an umbrella where all of our talks would fall under. And code switching, I get a lot of questions. What is code switching? It comes from linguistics. It comes from when you're learning a new language. So when you're learning a new language, you switch back and forth between that language and the one that you're used to, your native language. It happens a lot in Oxnard. When I learned Spanish by teaching here in Oxnard, and my interactions with students, with parents, with families, it would go back and forth between Spanish and English, and it still does. A lot of my interactions in Oxnard are in a mixture of Spanish and English, and occasionally even Tagalog. So I felt that it represented the community in a very unique way, because we go back and forth between English and Spanish frequently. We experience different cultures in different realities just by traveling 5 minutes down the road in Oxnard. So it's to bring everyone together. We felt it was appropriate to go with that theme. And my team here probably has their own view of code switching. I guarantee you they do, because they each wrote a talk about it. So I'm excited to have them share that with you.
So I want to start off with Brian, because he is actually a native Oxnard native. Let me phrase that correctly. So we'll start off with you, Brian, and tell us a little bit, one, how did you connect with Patrick? And then two, what is your take on code switching?
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you for having us. I mean, I think this is a great platform to tee up next month, and I think we're all excited. We've been working with each other for a while to move towards a date. But I graduated from Santa Clara High School, and I was the commencement speaker last year, and that's where Patrick and I kind of connected. I'm kind of a lifelong coach, and if you went to Santa Clara, you almost had to play basketball under Coach C, and so that's kind of my interpretation of code switching is in that leadership role, and how there's so many different ways to learn about leadership. But I think in the end, it is about the behaviors and the culture from one program to another, or one coach to another, on the interpretation of the language of leadership and how that is involved.
Awesome. Of course, a lot of people would say, how do you code switch with leadership? Patrick gave a good example about residents here in Oxnard going from English to Spanish. I know I do it. Spanish is actually a second language to me, and it's only because of my in-laws that only speak Spanish. So I will constantly find myself jumping back and forth. So how is leadership fall into that whole code switching as well?
Yeah, and I appreciate that, because growing up in Oxnard, it was all over, and I am very lucky. My best recruit is my wife that I've ever landed. So I mean, and she's from both Mexican and Colombian descent. So even in our household, there's a lot of code switching. But my interpretation in terms of leadership is, if you are brought up in one particular program with certain terminology and vocabulary, and then you move to another program that has a whole different vocabulary, terminology in terms of the same things, right? On for us, teaching layups and screens and passing and all that, it is a complicated network when you get to the collegiate level, where players are coming from all sorts of programs, and then we only have a 4-year package or a 4-year slot to really move towards that success. And I think, one of my points in my discussion and talk on the 20th is going to be surrounded with the culture net that programs must have in order to catch all of the trauma of the past experiences of players. I've been fortunate that I was able to coach junior college. Junior college is a whole different culture and way of life than Division I, and Division I is different than NAI. And so I think in sport, we can learn that in order to really connect with people, we have to be able to go back to that linguistic view of code switching, because if we can capture just the why of people, then the linguistics doesn't get in the way, and the learning doesn't get in the way.
That is amazing. I've never thought of it that way, but thank you for putting it in that perspective. I now want to go to Dr. Santa Maria, because she actually is working right here in the Oxnard community with MyCop. And for those that aren't aware of what MyCop is, you're about to find out from Dr. Santa Maria. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Daniel, and thanks, Patrick and Catherine and Pierce and Brian, just for the opportunity to be here representing the Mixteco Indígena Community Organizing Project. And so I am the director of a project there called Healing the Soul, Curando el Alma, o Nasana e Iñe, in the San Martin Peras variant of the Mixteco language. And it's really interesting because my talk is going to be kind of embedded in the community of Oxnard, but at the same time, the multi-layered code switching that's going to be happening is pretty interesting. So I just want to share that the code switching that I'm talking about is body, mind, spirit code switching. There will be many variantes that are going to be, or variants of Mixteco that I will be addressing, but that's not the core, that's not the meat of the talk at all. The talk is actually, the title of the talk is actually Co-Decolonization as Spiritual Activism, a Matter of Life and Breath. And so I'm going to be talking about the differentiation between colonization and decolonization and co-decolonization as sort of like ways to address social justice and equity in our community. So, I mean, I can talk for so long and so many levels about it. So maybe I can ask you to ask me a question so I can focus what we can talk about today. But I'm just really so happy to be representing the migrant indigenous Mexican population in Oxnard, because we're big and strong, 20,000 or more.
And anybody who lives in Oxnard or works in Oxnard understands that our community is so diverse. And yes, the Mixteco plays a huge role in our community. So I'm very curious as to, now correct me if I'm wrong, body and spirit, how is that the same thing as code switching, or what is
body,
your
mind,
take on
spirit?
that?
Yeah, we're studying, and I study traditional Mixtec healing around stress, anxiety, and depression. Because of the mental health disparities in our community, there haven't been very many folks from our community that go and receive mental health care services. And so the challenge was increasing the number of our community in places like VCBH, mental health services. And so the project that I lead, the challenge was, first of all, are folks in the Mixteco community engaging in Indigenous healing practices? If so, what are they, and do they work? And so that was a very tall order. We're in year 4 of the project, and what the project entailed the team being trained by the curanderas, the healers in the community, gaining trust to learn the different healing modalities, to test the healing modalities. We had over 450 members of the community that we tested the healing modalities on. And they worked. That was amazing. We did a presentation today at the county. And so when I say body, mind, spirit, I mean, we're talking about, yeah, brown bodies, brown minds, and it was very spiritual, a lot of breathing, a lot of breath work, and interesting practices like limpias or cleansing or clearings. So truly fascinating. And what we learned what we've realized is that we are folks who are Mixtecos that are doing the work are decolonizing medicine, decolonizing practices. But people like me, I'm not from the Mixteco community. I am a Black, Afro-Indigenous person of Choctaw descent. Actually, I'm a Louisiana Creole. My Indigenous research took place in Aotearoa, New Zealand. So I am co-decolonizing. I'm working alongside the Mixtec community and the decolonizing work that community is doing. So the talk is going to differentiate between all of that and some of the other folks in our team that is going to be talking about how we work in different communities that maybe we don't belong to. And so that's the code switching part, right? Being able to move and work in different spaces and different places and honoring those communities, and just it's just beautiful. Again, you can tell, but I know I cannot contain my passion, so I'm just going to simmer down right here and turn it back over to you. Yeah.
I want to say, just like, I can literally get lost just listening to you, because it's so much passion and fire in there, and I love it. But let me ask you, because and Brian, you may agree with this. We in Oxnard, over 70% Latino, Hispanic, whatever way you want to categorize it as, but it's over 70% of the population of our city, over 207,000 residents. Yeah. We have a culture that we don't like to show weakness. We don't go and get those support services. We don't talk about our feelings. It's the machismo in us that we don't want to express. So how were you able to kind of break that wall down to, reach out to individuals so that they are able to, experience this program?
It's really interesting. It wasn't very hard. Once people realized that we were talking about traditional medicine and traditional Indigenous Mexican medicine, people really wanted to talk about it. Everybody talked about, yeah, my mom uses vapor rub. Yeah, they were burning something in the back. They were making some tea, or I had, burned a hot piece of garlic in my ear when I had an earache. Everyone had these stories. And it was almost like the project gave folks permission to talk about the different things that were happening in their homes that may have been taboo, or may have been things that, you know, when you move to the States, when you migrate, you acculturate, you go to talk therapy and you go get the medicine and the pill. You don't really talk about these things. So this revitalization of Indigenous healing and Indigenous medicine in our community, it was quite profound. And at first we thought it was only going to be women, to answer your machismo, but actually there were a lot of men. There were even curanderos that shared knowledge, but all of the elders, mostly elders that shared their knowledge, they actually were very protective and said, you know, we don't want anybody to know our names, and we're going to teach you everything, but you can only share these particular remedies. We don't want you sharing all of the remedies. So there's a lot of very sacred, very much tied to the land. Even though this land is not the land of folks from Oaxaca, people are still tied to the land. It's just so beautiful. But there was not a lot of that. It was sort of like once the door opened, that there was this honoring of knowledge that from the community. There were many voices that came to the table. And when we were doing the treatments, I can't tell you the number of times that there were, you know, grown men lying on a massage table crying during a limpia. Just that just feeling that the smells and the being home and the music and all of that. It was just like a multi-sensory experience. So we didn't have a lot of pushback. And people are telling us, "Oh, you're gonna build a temazcal? I want to help you build the temazcal. I'll lay the groundwork. I'll cut the wood. So it's almost like just there's an opening right now in the community for more of this kind of code switching.
Awesome. Again, I forgot that I was even hosting tonight's show. Great information, and I look forward to your talk on the 20th. You brought up a really great thing about communities and how you can code switch between communities, and I want to now go to Catherine, who does not live in Oxnard, but has a really great take about community and public service. Catherine.
Yes, hi. Thanks for having me. I'm really so excited to be a part of this podcast show. And what brought me to Tedx Oxnard is my passion in public service. My bigger goal is to engage in public service beyond the boundaries of my own community. And I'd like to spread my influential ideas beyond where I'm currently involved in. And so I thought joining the Tedx Oxnard team would be the perfect opportunity and the perfect platform to do that. And I'm so happy to be a part of this team because this team has really revolutionized the way TEDx is accessible. Not only are we doing this as a live stream on Zoom, but it's going to be accessible to all members of the Oxnard community, to our networks in the West Coast, East Coast, international. And usually TEDx's are over $100, right, Pierce? Over $100. He's an alum TEDx speaker. So yes, it's over $100. But like I said, this team has revolutionized the way that we're spreading influential ideas. And we are doing a suggested $20 donation. And we're going to have merch that will be up on the site, and we have some really cool TEDx Oxnard hoodies, TEDx Oxnard t-shirts, ball caps that anyone can purchase, and those funds will be going to the TEDx in the next coming years. And you know, it's also on a pay as you can kind of basis. I'm really excited to give my talk. It'll be on the power of norm breaking and how it relates to code switching. I grew up with cultural norms. I was raised by two parents who immigrated from the Philippines, and it's a cultural norm for Filipino parents to show their love aggressively to their kids by pushing them to follow one of the four career paths that I'm about to mention: doctor, lawyer, nurse, or engineer. I have mad respect for people who become one of those four because it's insanely hard and such a challenging path. But it takes a lot of guts to stray away from that cultural norm and to truly listen to what your heart, your gut, and what your intuition is telling you. And it takes a lot of courage to follow your passions and to go outside the bounds of your own community, to take that passion far. So I'll be, I don't want to give all the beans on my talk, but that's pretty much the essence of what I'll be sharing on March 20th.
That's actually really important, especially here in the Oxnard community, because we like to set these guidelines for our children in school that you have to do this path because this is the only way that you're going to be successful, and you have to go into one of these professions. And I think that speaks volumes because of the fact that it doesn't always happen that way, but it's not a negative thing that if it doesn't happen that way.
Yeah, totally. It's not a negative thing. And it's so fascinating to me that young kids get asked at such an early age, hey, what do you want to be when you grow up? Because you're so young, like how can you possibly know what your true strengths, your true interests, and your true passions are? You're so heavily influenced by the community that's around you, your parents, and like you can't fully decide for yourself. You're still learning and growing. And so I think maybe the question that should be asked of the kids are, what are you interested in, versus this is what you need to become, and putting that guilty, unnecessary pressure at such an early age. So
I will say I have a 5-year-old and I have a 3-year-old. And my 5-year-old, I think yesterday wanted to be a trash truck driver. 2 days ago, she wanted to be a doctor. Last week, a teacher, a scientist the other week. So she's constantly changing. But me and her mom, we don't say, hey, this is what you're going to be. We kind of just like, okay, so how are you going to get there? What is your next plan? And then she's constantly changing it. So I completely agree with you, not setting these like, hey, this is what you have to be, but to say, hey, what are you interested in? Because
and that's such an exciting way to activate a child's imagination, to start dreaming big. And I think if you keep probing those kinds of questions at an early age, you're going to reach a point where your child is going to dream bigger than themselves, dream bigger than the boundaries of their own community. And it wasn't until I got to that point myself where the neatest opportunities fell into my lap that I never even imagined I'd have in a million years. One of the opportunities that fell into my lap when I broke away from the cultural norm my parents engraved in me to follow, but I broke away from it. I was one of the select few that interned at the White House for the Obama administration, and I was one of his scheduling in advance interns. And then I went on to do public engagement at the White House Council of Environmental Quality, and it's just so mind-blowing just to hear those words come out of my mouth. Like what? Me? I used to be this small town girl from Cerritos that was scared to not follow the rules. But once you have the courage to break away from the norms that are holding you back, once you have the courage to start dreaming big, you become the most powerful being, and you become the person you were truly created to be.
wow. I could allow you, just like Dr. Santa Maria, I can just allow you guys to keep going, but then what would you guys talk about?
I know, I gotta save the juicy parts for the
Right. So thank you for that. That's another great way of code switching. We have leadership with Brian. We have body, mind, and spirit with Dr. Santa Maria. We have you. Oh man. And we still got one more person to speak to. I do want to remind our viewers, if you have a question, remember Oxnard Live, this is live. This is happening right before your eyes. And we encourage all of our viewers, if you have a question for our guests, type it in the comment box. I'll view it and then we'll throw it out to our guests tonight. So our next person who actually has a huge, and I say that again, a huge role to play in the TEDx Oxnard. He is actually the first speaker on March 20th. Pierce, see, I remembered.
Yes. Well, thank you for having me and all of us. As you can see, I'm really happy to be the first because we have an amazing group of people that I don't want to follow. And just, I was actually still kind of thinking about what Brian said, because I'm a former athlete. I played basketball. And just what Brian is talking about how important it is to coach from that perspective, it just made me wish Brian, I wish you were my coach for sure. So, but we just have an amazing group of people. I'm just so overwhelmed with gratitude to be a part of this. Code switching, what Patrick and the rest of the organizing team did is they selected a topic that was both specific and broad for you to have your own interpretation. And my interpretation and I'm going to use some basketball language, is to pivot. And this is a time where there's a lot of craziness going on, for the last, over a year now. And what is this new normal? How are we going to code switch, our behavior, our health, our mental health, all that stuff? I mean, we have to sit and kind of reflect about everything. So my talk is called Finding Meaning in Madness. And my argument is that when we seek meaning and we actually go through the suffering and confront it, that's where we really find, the juice and everything that we need, not to avoid it, not to, gloss over it. And so what you said about how that ties into the Oxnard community, I mean, that's really great for me to hear, but Oxnard's not alone. This is happening, all over the country and all over the world, that we just need to deal with our stuff. And so I look forward to kind of addressing that issue.
So break it down just a little bit. Don't give up all the juice or the meat and potatoes, but how does that work into code switching? Finding meaning in the madness, because as we saw, there was a lot of madness over these past few years.
Right.
How does that tie into the code switching?
Well, the angle that I'm going with is that for many of us that are here, that are fortunate enough to be here and to be healthy, there's a lot of trauma we've experienced, right? But we need to change the relationship with our suffering. And so when we change the relationship by finding a way to be grateful for what we went through, finding a way to look at, all the things that we do have in our life. And then from there, really going into what is really unsettling us. And so you mentioned the ways that, speakers get up there and talk for TEDx. We can tell stories, right? I'm a storyteller. And so the way that I best try to get that message across is to really share about my life. Where were the maddening moments in my life that I can talk about and talk about how actually finding meaning and confronting those suffering moments, and changing the relationship with suffering to say, you know what, this quote unquote bad thing that happened for me was actually, one of the best things that could have happened. But you need to be able to look at it and dig into it. And so I have a framework in my speech: uncover, discover, recover. We need to uncover the suffering. What is it? Discover what the meaning is. And that's how we, recover and get back on our feet.
Wow. I look forward to hearing that, because I know there are a lot of people think, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but a lot of people think that something bad happened to me, that I have to hold that with me forever. And I can't grow from it. I can't, change it. I have to carry that. That's my weight to carry.
Right.
Am I wrong? Am I right?
Well, it's a yes and it is our weight to carry. However, we can find a way to celebrate that weight. That's part of our unique story. I mean, a lot of us we've all experienced trauma, all of us. And when we share our story and we dig into it, and we really look at that weight as for what it is, and then we share about it. A lot of times for me specifically, I kept that weight inside. I didn't talk about it. No one knew what I was going through. And that just made it worse for me. And so now part of my healing has been to share my weight. And that's enabled me to connect to people, because it's like, you know what? This person has a weight just like mine, or this person has a different weight that, now we can connect. And so that's through finding meaning. So that's what I'm really want to get across, is that, it's part of us, and it's stuff to share.
Wow. Thank you. Again, you have one of the biggest roles that you have to take on. You're the first speaker for the March 20th event. And Catherine, you have to really bring it home at the end, because you are the final speaker. And then the meat and potatoes are Brian and Dr. Santa Maria. I am so sorry. I have to tell you, Pierce, that I agree with you. That I know, for me personally, I would want to go first, because I don't know how I would be able to follow any of you. You all are bringing something really, really great to the table, and really making the community think. And I think that's very, very powerful, is to make the community think. Patrick.
And if I may, I don't want to interrupt. I just want to add, this is just a selection of the team that's going to be bringing Tedx Oxnard to you. All of our artwork has been created by one of my students, former student. She's now at CLU, Bella Abatoye. All of the organizing team are people who just kind of came together and coalesced around this idea. It started out with, a couple people at Santa Clara High School, and it snowballed from there. And, we eventually partnered with Oxnard Union High School District, and we'll be launching the event from there. And we'll have students involved in the production from both Oxnard Union and Santa Clara High School. We have two speakers who aren't with us here tonight. Melinda Wells, who's a corporate citizen, CEO of multiple companies, that'll be talking about how resistance is necessary for change. And we have Rabbi Michael Lotker, who's a physicist and rabbi, who will be talking about translation, literal translation from Hebrew, and how that changed the course of history. We also have artists, Liz McTagg, who's a singer-songwriter that'll be opening up our intermission. Beautiful, beautiful singer. And a poet, Crystal Salas, who writes poetry in both Spanish and English and intermixes them together. So it's not just, we're but a small sample of the energy and the vitality of the community of Oxnard, and that Tedx Oxnard has to offer. And I cannot emphasize enough how powerful the experience of this grassroots. I mean, we started with nothing, and it blows me away.
And look at just this team tonight. You mentioned that it's not even the full team, but just this team right here. Oxnard residents, non-Oxnard residents, wherever you live, you have to be part of this conversation on March 20th. Again, it is a pay what you can. They're suggesting a $20 donation. Purchase merchandise, whatever you need to do to be part of this conversation, because I'm telling you, just hearing just the little snippets of what their conversation, their talk is going to be on sounds amazing. I do want to just looking at the comment section and remind the residents and everyone that's watching, if you have a question, please throw it in the comment section. But we are hearing from Georgia Marquez, this is great. Edith, looking forward to this, can't wait. We have Adam Lopez, this is awesome. A lot of great feedback. Samuel, Allison, That's right. Dream big. And I think that had to go back with Catherine's talk. But this is definitely something exciting. And I am so happy to be able to have this conversation with you all tonight. Um, Dr. Santa Maria, I do want to ask you, because you do work with the MyCop, during your time slot, your presentation, is there going to be that bilingual aspect in it? Is it gonna, or is it just all English that you're going to be doing?
I'm going to only do English in the 18 minutes that we have, and the message that I would like to share, and that the team, I'm sharing on behalf of the team, I'm going to only use English. So that's why I'm really pushing for the Mixteco variante, probably San Martin Peras, which is the variante, the variant that's mostly spoken in Oxnard, trying to get that interpretation for that, working on it with with the team. I'm going to have that, and then the Spanish, because it's so funny you would say that, because earlier today, we did most of the work that we do is in Spanish in Mixteco. We don't usually do it in English. So it's really great to be able to have an English venue to share the information. So, Daniel, I wanted to share with you, I did bring out, because we talked a little bit earlier, just as we were pre-chatting, about how Mixteco doesn't have a written language, or there are rumors about the rumors, but there really is. This is the Diccionario del Idioma Mixteco Español, Tutu Tunsabi Nutsabi dictionary from the Universidad Tecnológica de la Mixteca from Oaxaca. So the language is written, it does have a written language, but the issue is there are many variants, like 20 different variants of the same language. And it's not like, people in the north of the United States speak in the south in these different accents. We're not talking about accents. We're talking about qualitatively different languages. And so, like on my team, there are 4 or 5 different variantes spoken, which means sometimes they can't communicate with each other, because the people on the hill in the village don't speak the same language as the people on the coast. They're all Mixteco people, but they're, depending on the village, the variant is going to be different. And so that's why I think there is sort of this feeling that it's people can't communicate with each other. It's really hard. You just have to keep talking until you find somebody whose variante kind of matches yours. And, people do communicate. It's just not as smooth. And there are a lot more folks whose first language is Mixteco than people realize. And a lot of people are speaking Spanish, and you might say, Mr. Allison might say, I don't really understand that person. I know they're speaking Spanish. It's because it's heavily overlaid with perhaps a Mixteco variante or another indigenous, Purépecha or Zapoteco or Otomi, another indigenous language from Mexico. So it won't be another language, but you'll definitely feel that multilingual, multicultural layering on my talk.
Awesome. To our viewers, as you can see, the 6 windows dropped down to 5. We thank Brian. He had something else to attend, so we thank him, and we look forward to his talk. I want to throw out this general question to all of you. How does it feel to, and Pierce, you brought this up during your time, that it's not only happening in Oxnard, it's occurring all over. But how does it feel to be able to bring this conversation, this TEDx, to the city of Oxnard, the largest in Ventura County? In my opinion, very diverse. We have Filipinos, we have Caucasians, we have African Americans, we have Latinos, we have Mixteco, we have a wide range of different people and a wide range of different languages that are spoken here. And you can go to any part, and Brian and Patrick, you definitely can agree with me on this. Any part of the city that you go to, it's a different language that is spoken. If you go towards Lemonwood area, you're gonna hear Tagalog. A lot of the residents over there, South Oxnard, that's a lot of more of the Mixteco, Spanish. If you go to the northern part, it's going to be a lot more English. So how does it feel to be able to bring this conversation, this platform, to the city of Oxnard and really show that there is diversity everywhere. I don't know who wants to take a stab at it first.
Yeah, if I may just jump in, I just think the only word I can think of is just special. And it's a soulful community. And like you said, diverse community. And this is a diverse organizing team, speaker, creator group that's going to be taking the stage. So everything I've understood about the soul of Oxnard will be represented on that stage to give back to the community. So it feels so special. One of the things, just being involved with this group, this is actually my second TEDx. I was a speaker in one last year also. And at that time, the world was normal when I gave my speech. However, it was much more disconnected as far as the group that we have. I didn't meet the speakers until I showed up at the event, and we were on email chains, but I didn't know anybody. But I've had so many conversations with Patrick and just getting to know Dr. Santa Maria and Catherine and everybody else. It's just been beautiful. So there's almost like just a family feel that's in this one. And it's interesting, especially because, we're socially distanced in a way, but I haven't felt more connected to, a group than this in a minute. So it really just feels right.
Anyone else want to take a jab at that?
Yeah, I do. Go ahead, Catherine. I'll go after you.
Oh, just to echo Pierce, I think it's a huge honor to be able to share ideas to such a diverse community. And I think Patrick, sorry, there's a little fly in front of me. I think Patrick has done such a great job assembling a multi-ethnic, multi-generational team. And like Pierce said, this has been such an amazing team to be a part of because we are very tight-knit, close family. Communication has been easy. Everyone has been bringing good vibes. It's been very collaborative, especially on the merchandise. One person owned a distribution merchandising center, and then another person brought in her artwork, and then everyone was able to kind of put in their input. It's just been a very collaborative family kind of feel, and it's an honor to be able to share this with the community.
Awesome.
I would like to add to this as well. So even though the MICOP is an Indigenous-led, Indigenous serving organization, my team, for example, Healing the Soul, we're a Black Indigenous people of color group. So we're a BIPOCs, the key term. I mean, we've got me, we've got another Afro-Indigenous person, we have Latinx, we have Chicanx, we have obviously the Mixteco community, all working together. And like Catherine was saying, a multi-generational, multicultural, multilingual team representative of Oxnard. That's like Oxnard. Oxnard is everybody working together toward a better good, a greater good for everybody. Yeah, you can go and there are factions that live in different places, but when it's time to do the work, you're going to find people rolling their sleeves up together, working together to create a better Oxnard. And I really appreciate that. It makes me feel really comfortable. I was sharing with Catherine in another conversation that I did high school in the Cerritos Bellflower, Lakewood area. That's where I went to high school. I'd moved from Spain. My dad was in the Air Force and I lived in there. It feels kind of like that. It's this diversity. It's working class folks, but everybody kind of working together, a lot of immigrant families. And there are moments when this feeling of just really having to work really hard, and that being the culture. What's the culture? The culture is work hard. We're working hard. You know what I mean? That's what we have in common. We're all working really, really hard. And so that's what makes it really beautiful. And that's also a part of code switching, being able to move into those different neighborhoods and languages and dialects and languages and skin colors and socioeconomic statuses, just all working toward the greater good. And yeah, Mr. Allison, you get props for pulling together a team because you have a good eye for knowing like who's bringing what to the table, and let's make it shine. Let's make Oxnard shine. So thank you.
That's great. Patrick, we'll we'll end that question with you, the one that's brought this group together.
I mean, I'm humbled. I'm literally speechless because this Dr. Santa Maria will talk about, I had a dream one night and I woke up and I have to change everything that I'm doing and about my talk. And I go, well, that's fine because that's how I operate. I was, I had an idea and it just struck me that, oh, this is a good idea. This is something the community really could, rally around. And I had absolutely no idea how to do it. I just got out, a former field artillery officer in the Cal Guard, and I've been teaching at Santa Clara, for my entire teaching career, which is short, 5 years. I say my entire career, but I had to figure out how am I going to do this and everything. I had no idea, and so it really wasn't me that brought this team together. I just put it out there and they came. Just like tonight, I sent an email and they showed up, and brought everything, all the beautiful talents, abilities and perspectives to the table. And that's a humbling experience more than anything else. I've learned more about leadership from this team in the last year than I have, since I went through officer candidate school. And it's a thing of beauty, and we're bringing beauty to the community that I'm just incredibly proud to be a part of.
Yeah, and I look what happens when you embrace diversity in times of adversity. We're bringing in this huge opportunity that I think the community is going to start looking forward to, not just this year, but the next year and the following year. And because we have a multi-ethnic, multi-generational, diverse group, it has attracted a diverse attention for the community. We're tapping into someone who has an environmental background, social justice background, athletic background, and we're bringing good attention, good ideas, more opportunities to the community. And I think that's something to be excited about.
That's awesome. You brought up a good point. The next year after that, the next year after that, what is in the future for Tedx Oxnard? Because if this is just the first event, I'm excited to see what the future events all hold, because this is, I honestly have to say, Patrick, there's a lot of pressure on you because of the fact that how do you top this one, the first one, okay? Because this is a great group so far, and I do not want to be in your shoes trying to plan for the following year, because this is going to be a lot of work. But what are the plans for Tedx Oxnard in the future?
Yeah, clearly I don't know when to stop, but I think the idea is that we take the momentum, we take the energy that we have from this event, and we carry it forward, and we involve the community to a greater degree. My goal was to make this an event that is something we can grow and scale and become a point of pride for our community, and a point of coming together more than anything else. So, I mean, in the future, I would love to have students involved, not just in the organizing process, not just in the production, but as speakers, as performers, sharing their ideas with the world through the Tedx platform. The Tedx platform is great because, all of it's an independently organized event, but it bears the recognition of Tedx. And so when a message is spread out into the world, it is an idea that can catch fire in a very, short period of time. And so for residents of Oxnard, for students who are interested in, who have an idea worth spreading, who have something that they want to get out there, Tedx Oxnard can then become a platform to elevate those voices. And that's really what I think we're ultimately seeking to do, is to sustain this and to elevate the community's voices as much as we can.
Awesome. Thank you all for joining me tonight in this conversation. I'm super, super excited to be able to hear all of you speak on the 20th. Patrick, one more time, if you can give people, if they want to purchase tickets or if they want to be able to donate to be RSVP for the event, where do they go? How do they get in contact with you in order to save their spot for the show?
Awesome, thanks. So we have a website. It's real complicated. It's tedxoxnard.com. So tedxoxnard.com. Registration link is on the front homepage, and we have a registration link tab where you can donate as well. We also have a page that lists all of our speakers' bios, pictures, a little bit about our organizing team, and a blog that severely needs to be updated. That's where you got to register. Please follow us on social media. We're at OxnardDX on Twitter. We're also at OxnardDX on Facebook. And I think Instagram too. I'm going to look to Catherine for that. Is that right?
I believe our Instagram is Tedx Oxnard. I'm going to triple check right now.
You should be able to search Tedx Oxnard on Instagram and pick us up. But we post something pretty frequently. Mostly it's about our speakers and just what they're going to bring. And of course, if you guys want to volunteer, if you want to be a part of the event this year or moving forward, please email us at tedxoxnard@gmail.com.
Okay, and just to confirm, our Instagram handle is Tedx Oxnard. So feel free to follow us. We'll be posting a lot more these next coming weeks, and we already have some great content up, so click that like button.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. I will jump to Pierce. Final comments that you want to share?
Just again, gratitude for this group. Thank you for allowing us the space to talk about this very special event we have, and really hope your viewers come and check us out. It's going to be an amazing event to learn, to grow, to enjoy some fine art and music and poetry. And you can do it all from the comfort of your own home. So we look forward to seeing you. Dr.
Santa Maria, final comments.
Yeah, I would like to close, land a quote for you from June Jordan, a Black African-American scholar and spiritual activist. She describes this whole event. She says, this kind of work reminds us that to tell the truth, because this is a form of truth telling, right? To tell the truth is to become beautiful, to love yourself, to value yourself, and that's political in its most profound way. And so spiritual activism is what I'm going to be talking about, and it's truth telling. That's what TEDx talks are about. It's amazing way to get into some other stories and some other truths and inspirational ways to see the world. Thank you.
Thank you. Catherine, final comments.
My final comments is I would love your listeners to start thinking on the power of dreams. And I'm going to leave you hanging there because I'm the closing speaker, and I'm going to tell you about the power of dreams and the power of unlocking your bigger dreams when we start breaking norms. Thank you for having us on this show. Thank you, Oxnard, for embracing our Tedx Oxnard event on March 20th. We are so excited to share our influential ideas with you and really looking forward to it.
Thank you. Patrick, final comments.
I just want to thank you for hosting us. It's been an amazing conversation, just in the last hour. I feel like the team's gotten even closer, and we were close to the end with. So I want to thank you for hosting this conversation. I want to thank the community of Oxnard for working hard and continuing to work hard. And we look forward to seeing you at our event.
Again, thank you all. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the team behind TEDx Oxnard, which will be having their first event on March 20th. Please visit the website at tedxoxnard.com. There you can register for the event. It is a pay as you can. They're suggesting $20, but give what you can. There's also going to be merchandise. So if you want to get a hoodie, because sometimes we get a little cold here in Oxnard, get a hoodie with the TEDx Oxnard. Also, if you want to, if you have some questions or you want to just, get more information, you can also email them at tedxoxnard@gmail.com. Thank you all again for joining me. I cannot wait for March 20th. I wish it was already tomorrow for March 20th, but anticipation is good. So, ladies and gentlemen, the team behind TEDx Oxnard, again, visit the website, tedxoxnard.com. Please be sure to join us next week as we have Assistant Police Chief Denise Schandinger, who is the first female Assistant Police Chief in Oxnard Police Department's history. We're going to be talking about her path leading up to the position, what her goals is in that position, and plans for the future. Remember, this is Oxnard Live, all live and 100% real. Have a great night, everyone, and thank you again to the TEDx team, and we'll see you next week.